How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgiman and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Chainsaw Man chapter 133. So, what did I think about this week's chapter? In all honesty, I thought this chapter was spectacular. I thought this chapter was very important and very crucial for not only Yoshida's character but also Denji, because we get to see pretty much what Yoshida's end goal is, at least that we know of in the story, as well as get to see a lot of character development with Denji and how much he's grown from part 1 up to now in the story. Now, before we go any farther with this week's chapter, I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my Chainsaw Man as well as all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's chapter. So how this chapter picks up is actually completely different than pretty much what happens at the end of last chapter, which is we see that right now in the world there's been a big ruckus, and specifically in Japan we see that there's a lot of protests, and it's people in the streets trying to take down Chainsaw Man. They don't want Chainsaw Man. They're not safe with him. They think he's a menace and they want to get rid of him. They don't want him in the streets. And we cut to Yoshida pretty much explaining to Denji what's going on in the world, which is a lot of commotion. There's a cult that's happening, which we saw in the last chapter, being influenced by Denji Simp, the guy from the Chainsaw Man fan club. And we see that pretty much this cult has gathered around 20,000 people so far. And there's a lot of protests, there's a lot of things, a lot of violence happening. And the public safety community, they want, Chainsaw Man not to be a thing anymore because it's causing so much stress and, chaos around the city. So Yoshida sits down Denji and he goes, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll let you and Nayuta be free and you guys can do whatever you want, just one condition: never turn into Chainsaw Man again. And Denji automatically goes like, what are you talking about? And Yoshida pretty much explains what I just did, which is that, the world right now, it feels like the public safety community feels like Chainsaw Man right now is more of a threat than anything. And, just the existence of him, is bringing chaos. So they want just Chainsaw Man to disappear, to never come back again. And pretty much Yoshida says to Denji, like, hey, you got a sweet deal. Like, if you actually come through with this, promise of that, you and Nayuta and the dogs, you guys can be scotch free. You can live as a human just like you always wanted. So you don't have to pick and choose. Just, it's pretty obvious what you should do. You should obviously just be a regular human. And Denji's like, okay, well, what if I don't do that? And Yoshida pretty much says like, well, if you fail to, meet our demands, we'll send you Nayuta's corpse. If you don't follow with the request, then, she's done. Like, it's pretty obvious. You only get one option. And Denji goes, yeah, but I don't know. And he's like, well, I really want to be Chainsaw Man. And, Yoshida's, don't you care about Nayuta? It's like, I do, but I like, I want to save Nayuta as well as, keep being cool, because I like the praise from everybody. I love being approved. And Yoshida's like, well, Denji, you can only pick one. And, he's like, well, what about these two options? I want two. And then Yoshida goes like, well, no, there's only one option. It's pretty clear. You got to pick Nayuta. And Denji's like, no, well, I picked two. I picked both of them. And Yoshida's like, you can't do that. So, like, which was crazy because up to this point in the story, Yoshida's been very composed, very calm and collective. But in this chapter, he just snaps. He completely just starts getting down to Denji's level of just like pure immaturity, which to be honest was very funny because, like I said, Yoshida up to now in the story has been very stoic, very calm and collective, but in this chapter he pretty much lets his emotions out, and it's hilarious because my man is he's having the cold sweats, he's snapping at Denji like, man, stop this, like he's just throwing a whole tantrum, and it's great. And eventually Denji's like, okay, you know what, people, attack him, like get out of here, like you suck. Like Denji's like, my fans, come and defend your Chainsaw Man. And Yoshida's like, what are you doing, bro? Stop, you're being stupid. And eventually we cut to Nayuta. She shows up out of nowhere. She's like, Denji. And Denji's like, hey, Nayuta. And like, it's a bittersweet moment. They automatically hug each other. And Yoshida's like, man, what were you doing? Like, because he's pissed off that the person that was overseeing Nayuta, he let the cat out of the bag too early. He's like, man, you suck. Like, he was about to choose. And Denji and Nayuta, they have a sweet moment, and I absolutely love Denji's whole reaction after he hugs Nayuta, which is just keep on holding her, and it shows a lot of character with him because up to this point in the story, he's pretty much a father figure / big brother to Nayuta. And if you would have told me in part 1 in Denji, early part 1, that Denji was going to become someone's role model / parental figure, I would have thought you were nuts. Like Denji, he was definitely not that type of material, but his growth, I think up to this point in the story, has been phenomenal. And I just think overall that Fujimoto has been doing an exceptional job at Denji's portrayal in the story up to now, because yeah, he has grown literally both figuratively and, as a person, because, in the small amount of time that has been since part 1 and part 2, those months, and Denji has been, he has become a better person. And I really like how Denji, he puts his foot down and lets Yoshida know, like, hey, you want beef, we can scrap, dude. Like, you don't mess with my, don't mess with my little sis. And I think that's awesome, because Denji, big brother right there, best brother right there. Denji proving why he is the GOAT, why he is the Giga Chad, because he's willing to throw down with anybody if anybody messes with his little sister. And that's a big moment. Like, that's awesome by Denji's character. Now, continuing with the story, we see that pretty much Yoshida is pretty unhappy about the whole situation. He's like, man, this sucks. Like, how could this happen? I can't believe that, this went all down. And he tells Denji, like, well, Denji, you gotta keep your promise. You can't transform into, the Chainsaw Man, or if you do, we'll kill her. And then she's like, what? Tell him off, Denji. And then Denji kind of like looks at Yoshida, and they have like a stare down. And you can tell there's some tension in Denji's eyes, because I feel like he himself might think, like, you know what, even if I try, I can't take them all down. And I think that's a very important moment going forward in the story, because if Denji's fighting the public safety community as well as the devils themselves, it throws into question, like, what is Fami's motive? Because personally, I thought this whole time that Yoshida and Fami were plotting a way for Chainsaw Man to be involved in preventing the apocalypse, but it seems like they want to keep him out. So I'm starting to question, like, well, what's their overall motive? Like, do they not need the power of Chainsaw Man? Like Chainsaw Man is arguably one of the strongest characters in the verse, and they want him to sit this one out. So this is giving me red flags, and I think that there's something behind all this, just besides, the whole revolting and all that, because Fami's behind all that. So it makes me think, like, well, Yoshida, what are you doing? Like, I thought you were, in cahoots with Fami. So why would you have Denji sit this one out when Fami's obviously trying to set something up with Denji, So I don't know what's happening. Another thing I wanted to point out is that maybe Fami is trying to make more fear upon Chainsaw Man, because that might give him a buff. Because we do know that, the power of a devil is represented by the fear of said devil. So what if Denji's all, like, right now has become kind of weak just because the public loves him? So what if Fami's, purposely trying to sabotage Denji in the sense of making the public reception of Chainsaw Man, go to the drain, go downhill, which will make people, fear him and hate him. Therefore, his power, he can become much more powerful. Perhaps even as powerful as, when we saw Pochita in part 1 at the end, when he goes full Chainsaw Man, and it's insane. So a lot of questions, and that's what I love about these kind of chapters. It opens the speculation, makes us, kind of question everything, because right now in the story, I don't know what's gonna happen. Denji is trying to protect Nayuta, but what's Asa up to? Like, what's her ordeal? We know that she's in the hospital because of the whole, falling devil, incident. So I'm wondering what her part in the story is gonna go forward, because right now a lot of stuff is going down, and I'm more than excited to see what all the resolutions to all these plot threads are, because Fujimoto has been cooking non-stop. My man has been killing it, and I just think that these kind of chapters are the ones that we as the fans, we love, because these are the chapters that opens the bolt for more questions and more developing exciting things. And like I said, I can't wait to see what Fami and Yoshida's plan is, because to this day we still don't know what they sat down and talked about besides the Nostradamus. Like, I'm sure they talked about a plan, and like I said, Fami, we know that she's plotting something in the background. And especially with the fanboy of Chainsaw Man, he's creating this cult. So I'm wondering what's all that about. Now, the one thing that really fascinated me was the concept of what if Denji stops being Chainsaw Man? What if he actually goes through with it and puts, the Chainsaw Man mantle down? And I wonder what that might, come about. Like, will the world be a safer place, or would it be worse? I personally think it would be a worser place, because obviously it's already bad as it is without Chainsaw Man. Now, take Chainsaw Man out of the equation, this place would be, we would be wiped out, I think. So I'm wondering, like, is it going to be like a moment where Denji starts to realize, like, maybe I should hang, the Chainsaw Man mantle, but somebody like Nayuta tells him, like, no, you shouldn't. You should fight and protect the people, as well as, prove to the public safety community that, you're not a threat. And I'm wondering if his presence alone is bringing more threats, or if, they're just afraid that he might stop the apocalypse. Because that's another thing. Like, Fami, are Yoshi and Fami playing face? Do they, like, oh yeah, we're gonna stop the apocalypse, we're gonna protect Earth, but are they actually, trying to protect the Earth, or are they actually just playing face and pretending like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it, but in reality they're the ones setting it up so the Earth gets destroyed? So a lot of fascinating things to think about. Overall, I really love this chapter, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the story, because right now I would say this is some of the best content we got in the entire series, and that's always a good thing, because Fujimoto's a genius, and chapters like this only prove so. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's chapter? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Chainsaw Man, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.